Hi, and welcome back. In this session, we're going to cover the difference between owned and bought media. Now, in previous sessions, you might remember that we covered the organic user journey, the non-organic user journey, and we talked about the difference between installs that come from ad networks and custom media sources. In this session, we're going to discuss the difference between owned and bought media. And the goal for this session is to really understand the difference between tracking owned media and bought media, and also understand the importance of why we should track our owned media. Now, you guys remember the golden rule of app marketing, and that's that the lifetime value of the users you acquire should be greater than the cost of acquiring those users. But you might be thinking right now, wait a minute, if I'm using my own media channels, isn't the cost of acquiring those users free? And if the cost of acquiring those users is free, why do I even need to track and know where they came from? That's one way to look at it, but let me show you why thinking that way will actually limit the success of your user acquisition campaigns. Now, thinking back to previous sessions, you should remember that there's two sources of non-organic installs. We have the non-organic installs that we get from ad networks, and then we have the non-organic installs that we get from custom media sources. Now, these custom media sources actually are your owned media. Many people make the mistake of thinking that non-organic users only come from paid media. So when they break out their user base, they think, okay, let me look at the organic user LTV, which are people who I just get for free, and compare that to the non-organic user base, which are the people that I pay for. And that's actually a mistake, because non-organic users aren't only the people that you paid for. So you can use custom media sources to understand when somebody installs from, say, a banner on your website, or a post that you make on Facebook, Twitter, or any other social platform that you're using for marketing. And it's very important to understand those users and segment those users out, because you don't want to mix them into your pure organic users who just go to the store and download your app. So let's look at a couple reasons why it's a mistake to not track your owned media. First, if you're not tracking across your owned media, you won't have visibility to your omni-channel LTV. So when you're trying to figure out what is the true lifetime value of your customers, it could really throw off your calculations. And you could potentially make a mistake understanding the true lifetime value of your users. If you don't track that a person came into your app via your website, you might not be able to link them together with a purchase they made on your website, or even when they go into your store. But when you're attributing every single channel and every single purchase they make, whether it's via your app, your website, or in your physical location, you'll truly understand the lifetime value of that specific user. And understanding the lifetime value of that specific user will help you understand how much money you should spend on other channels to acquire users. It also gives you insight into how much margin you can use from your own channels, or how much revenue you're creating from your own channels to cover the cost of acquiring users via paid channels. So if you're not tracking your owned media, your LTV numbers for all your users can be incorrect. The second reason, which is very important once you become a very sophisticated app marketer, is to understand how re-engagement is essential to your success. Now, when you're tracking your audiences, you need to not only be able to pinpoint their actions, for example, the people who made purchases, the people who installed your app, or even the people that don't have your app. You also need to understand where they came from, because creating event-based segmentations allows you to push that data across to other retargeting networks. When you can retarget those users, you can send them more personalized messages. So for example, when you retarget a user who installed your app because of an interaction they had in your store or on your website, you can give them a specific message. Whereas if you acquire a user from a paid media channel, you'll potentially want to give them a different message when you're retargeting them. Now, if you're not tracking your own media sources and attributing the installs back to them, there's no way to pull out that segment and retarget them. So I hope that gives you a better understanding of why it's important to not only break down your users into organic and not organic users, but to also track your users across owned and paid media channels. Until next time, thanks for watching, keep on learning, and bye-bye.